Have you ever found yourself watching Star Trek but thinking, wait, did I accidentally switch over to a 90s sitcom? If so, you might be watching Take Me Out to the Holosuite, which feels less like an episode of Deep Space Nine and more like something out of Full House. Well, if Full House had Vulcans and a grumpy Klingon in full baseball gear. No galaxy-spanning stakes, no existential crisis, just a petty rivalry, a truly terrible display of athletics, and Worf delivering some of the best deadpan one-liners in the history of the franchise. I wanted to cover this episode because the last two Trek episodes I reviewed were pretty heavy. And honestly, sometimes you just need a break from all the war, philosophy, and cosmic weirdness. Take Me Out to the Holosuite is a slice of life episode done right. A rare moment of levity in the final season of DS9. An episode where our crew gets to kick back and have fun and attempt to play a sport that most of them honestly do not know anything about or truly understand. At the heart of it, this episode is really about Captain Sisko's very specific and very personal vendetta against a smug Vulcan named Solik. A guy who has apparently spent decades tormenting Sisko over an incident that occurred while they were both still in Starfleet Academy, which resulted in Sisko's defeat in a wrestling match at the hands of Solik. I love that this episode isn't about space, politics, or the Dominion War. It's really just about a decades-long Academy rivalry. The fact that Solik, a supposedly emotionless Vulcan, has seemingly dedicated his entire life, or at least a good chunk of his existence, to proving he's better than Sisko at something, that is pure petty perfection, and I'm kind of here for it. Another thing that makes this episode great is that every single main character gets their moment to shine. The most entertaining part for me, watching these non-humans try to grasp baseball's completely arbitrary rules. You get things like Nog chasing down Vulcan baseball players like he's lost at a family reunion, and our favorite Odo taking his umpire duties way too seriously. And how could we forget Rom, sweet Rom, managing to injure literally everyone on his own team before the game even starts. The man is a menace in the most loving way possible. But nobody, and I mean nobody, steals the show quite like our boy Worf. I mean, this is a literal Klingon warrior, a man trained in deadly bat'leth combat, and he cannot hit a ball for the life of him. He cannot figure it out. And let's be honest, his absolute commitment to the game, despite being terrible at it, is what makes this even funnier. I mean, death to the opposition. Come on. That's peak Star Trek grade comedy at its finest. And then there's Rom and Lita, one of Trek's most underrated power couples. At this point in the show, they are just so genuinely supportive of each other, and it's one of the best things about DS9's later seasons. Rom may not be a great baseball player, really great, any good at that at all, but he's a fantastic husband. And let's be honest, Lita could probably take down a Vulcan in a fight if it really came down to that. The entire episode plays out like an old school sitcom, but what really ties it together is the heartwarming moment when the team, despite being comically bad at baseball, decides to win the big game for Coach Sisko. They might not fully understand the game, but they understand him, and that's what makes it work. And of course, Odo gets the last laugh by throwing Sisko out of the game after Sisko's bad attitude the entire time. Odo got that taste of power, and again, he took his position way too seriously. Thankfully, Solik also gets thrown out by the end of the game as well. It's funny. I see this episode referenced often in meme form. Worf in full baseball gear, iconic, but I don't hear nearly enough people talking about the actual contents of the episode, and that's a shame, because Take Me Out to the Holosuite is one of the more unique Star Trek episodes. There's no big twist, no Q messing with the crew at the end of it, just a lighthearted, easy watch that lets us enjoy these characters in a totally different way from the rest of the series. So, if you've been skipping over this episode in your DS9 rewatches, I'd say fix that next time. And if you want more Subspace Stories, engage the like button, activate the share button, and follow along for more Star Trek retrospectives, whether it's serious deep dives or me just talking about why Worf is probably the worst baseball player of all time. Alright, see you next time, friends.